Welcome back to the three-part series, Getting Booked on More Podcasts. I'm Angel Tuccy. I am your media matchmaker and the founder of the Need a Guest Facebook group, where we have created the fastest growing online community for finding guests and getting booked. Every single day, we help our clients get booked on more podcasts. We are always adding more podcast hosts into our directory, into our inventory, in order to continue to bring you higher quality podcast leads. But in order to leverage the whole idea of the podcast world, we want to make sure that we have a system and a strategy for getting you booked every single week. This is the methodology that we take our Media Firestorm clients through. It's the methodology that I've been using myself for the last 5 years, and to get my clients booked on more than 2 stages or 2 podcasts every single week. Getting booked on 2 podcasts every single week puts you in front of over 100 audiences throughout the year. And the number one struggle that most entrepreneurs have is not speaking to enough qualified leads every single week in order to fill your sales funnel, in order to grow your business. But here's the thing, there's so much opportunity. There's so many people out there that are today looking for you, that need your advice, need your guidance, and want to know what you know. And entering into the world of a podcast guest is the fastest and easiest way, and the most growing way right now. And it's still pretty much untapped. There are a lot of people that are getting booked on podcasts, but it's seemingly random. It's inconsistent. They're not getting the opt-ins from it. They haven't quite figured out how to leverage that. And that's what we teach inside of our Media Firestorm program, is the methodology for leveraging podcast guesting in order to grow your business. So in part 1 of Get Booked on More Podcasts, we talked about the method, right? How we're reaching out to people, and that we've really created a great landscape and environment for you to have warm outreach, people already connected to you that you can reach out to say, hey, let's get me booked on your podcast, right? That's where we always start, right? Is the people we're closest to. We can we can do this one-on-one, right? As far as text messages and personal messages and personal posts. We can also do an outreach, right, to the people that we're already connected to by doing email blasts. Hey, are you looking for guests for your show? Do you think I'd be a great fit? I heard you have a podcast. Tell me about your podcast. All of this, right, can start to open up doors and position you as an authority in your niche, right? It also positions you and elevates your personal brand as a podcast guest. The more podcasting, right, that you do, the more podcast opportunities that open up to you. People see you as a podcast guest, and you'll start to get recognized and invited onto more podcasts simply by going out and doing, right, getting booked. But before we actually message them, right, and reach out to them, we really want to put together a really solid offer that you can use to increase your likeliness, right, of getting booked. And so as we leverage, right, rather than just go, hey, you should book me on your show, which a lot of people do, right? You should have me on your show, and it's all about me. We really want to make a great offer. And a lot of times people call this a pitch, right? What's the pitch you're going to use to get booked? We call it an offer just because it sounds nicer, right? So there are basic offers, and then there's no-brainer offers, right? What if I offered you $10,000 to interview me? That would be a no-brainer offer. I have paid to speak on stages. And so essentially I'm paying you to speak on your stage if I wanted to offer you money to have you interview me. Now, in most cases, offering a large sum of money is not very profitable. So I want to give you lots of different things that you can do to leverage the assets you already have to help that podcaster get closer to the goal they have in mind. So remember, they are also looking for more exposure, more traffic, more leads, more followers, just like you too. So you'll stand out from others when you can begin to partner with them in their efforts. So rather than say, hey, just something about me, which is what a pitch is, right? It's all about me, my assets, what I bring to the table. An offer is really something something more reciprocal, something for you, something for me. So here's some ways that you can stand out in an offer, right? Instead of just your standard pitch, putting together an offer. So one, you could offer to do a podcast swap. If you have your own podcast, you could say, hey, here's something reciprocal. I'll do you, you do me, right? I'll interview you, you interview me. And that's a really respectful offer right out of the gate. If you have a platform, being willing to offer them to do something you're willing to do yourself is incredible. It also gives them more exposure, introduces them to your audience, creates a lot of know, like, and trust factor as you're each interviewing each other. And so there's a lot of mutual benefit there. And even if you don't have a podcast, you could still offer, think about this, you have a platform of something, right, that you could reach out to them with. And so if we think about you have a YouTube channel, or you have a Facebook page, or you have a group that you meet with, right? If you have any type of platform that you could promote them on, you could still do a podcast swap, even if you don't officially have a own podcast. Right? So think about this. If you have, you can interview, right? You could interview them on Zoom, upload it to YouTube, and share it on your Facebook or your LinkedIn profile. Voila, right? You have a stage, right? In this new era of media, pretty much everybody is a media host, right? So if you have a YouTube channel or you have a social media platform where you can host videos, technically you have a stage that you could swap that with, right? You could offer to promote them to your email list, right? If you've got a decent sized email list, of course, giving them more exposure, giving the links so people can subscribe, endorsing them, right? Encouraging your followers to follow them. And so depending on your size, right? If you've got a decent email list size, you could say, hey, I'd love to promote you and promote your podcast to my email list size of X number, right? If you have a good open rating, maybe you don't have a really large list, but you've got a quality list, and you've got a 29% open rate or 30% or 50% open rate, then mention that, right? I don't have a large list, but I have a large open rate, right? I have a very engaged audience, and they open up and they follow and they pay attention. If you're just starting out building your list, you can say that, be honest, right? Be honest about where you're at. Tell them I'm just beginning to use my podcast to grow my email list. And in the last month, my email list has doubled in size. Right? When we were growing the Need a Guest Facebook group, it took us 2.5 years to get to 10,000 members. When we really started focusing on growing it, leveraging it, engaging in it, actively using the group, it doubled in size in the next 6 months. It's amazing. Where attention goes, energy flows, right? And what grows when you pay attention to it. And so your email list, as you start to grow, it will also start to grow in size. And so if you do a podcast swap, you can promote them to your email. You can also offer to do something for them, solve a problem for them. Is there something you have, a resource, a tool, a kit, an affiliate link, right? Something that you can just offer to them. Here's some things that I've offered to my clients in the past, or leads in the past, is we could write a press release for them, right? Our company does press releases. We have a great distribution network. And so I could write a press release for you. I could write a foreword. I've written a foreword in many, many books. I think I've written a foreword in 8 different books as just a way to add value to somebody. I've invited them to speak on my stage. I introduce them to other guests. Like, you think I'm a good fit. Can I bring you more guests? They always love that. Introduce them, of course, to marketing partners, clients, or vendors. Introductions, testimonials, reviews, like all of these are things that you can do that don't cost you anything, but that you have a value. Do you have a stage? Do you have a group that they could speak on and speak in front of? Do you have a tool that you use? Do you have a hack, right, that would help them? You see that their website has, something that you could solve for them. You see their email signature, something that you recognize, and you're like, hey, can I help you? Take them to lunch, buy them coffee, right? You are a wonderful human being. So even beyond your brilliance that you'll bring to them as a podcast guest, you can be very creative, be clever and innovative on helping solve a problem for them. Something that we've been using a lot is offering to get them on another podcast. You are in a network, right? If you're part of Need a Guest or part of our Media Firestorm group, you have a network of podcasters that you could help them get booked. They want the same thing. Remember, as a host, they probably wouldn't mind getting interviewed. When I was growing my radio show, this is what we did, right? I used other radio shows to build up my audience. I would, at least twice a week, I was a guest on somebody else's program. Same for podcast hosts. Even though they're hosting their own show, they also need to be a guest to grow their audience on other people's podcasts. So offer to get them on another podcast. And so if you think about just the different things that you could add and offer to them, instead of just that onesie of, hey, do this for me, but let me do something for you. And as you put yourself out there and think of it more as a two-way street, something reciprocal, now you'll start to stand out. So as you go through the Need a Guest group and you are seeing the different pitches and that people are saying, right, and commenting on inside that Need a Guest group, or as you're reaching out to your warm outreach, people you know who have a podcast, they're already in your network and in your community, or you're posting in an email blast or a social media post, right? Let me do this for you. Like, always lead with, I'd love to promote you to my group who has a podcast. Do you think I'd be a good fit, right? Would this be a great opportunity for your audience if I promoted you to my audience? I'd love to do a podcast swap. Love to have you speak on my stage. Love to have you speak to my group. Love to solve this problem for you. Remember, a lot of this is one-on-one, so you can make it personal, right? Make it personal exactly to that person, to their needs. Yes, this can be time consuming, but it is so valuable. What if you got on front of an extra 10 people this week, an extra 100 people this week, an extra 1,000 people this week? So much of what we're doing as business owners is this one-on-one building our relationships. And now we want to start to leverage the power of podcasts, because that gets us in front of one to many. If this makes sense to you, right? And you're like, I need to be more, I need to be doing more, I need to be doing it better than I was doing. Just doing it better, just increasing your offer can increase your booking rate probably 3 times better than what it's currently doing. Chatted with a gentleman, they sent out 465 messages and they got 20 responses. That's a 4% return. Imagine if we could triple that just by improving your offer. Give them a no-brainer offer, something that they can't refuse. Like, let me make you an offer you can't refuse. That's honestly what we want to do here. We want you to stand out, to give them the best option, to be the best guest, the best yes that they've ever said yes to, and be the best guest opportunity. Because it matters, right? Like, it absolutely works. It matters. We want to get you in front of more audiences so that you can grow your business, become the #1 authority in your niche. If you haven't yet plugged into Need a Guest, go to needaguest.com. It'll plug you into our free community. If you're interested in learning more about our Media Firestorm program, you can reach out to us there. So this was part 2, right? So part 1, we talked about method. Part 2, we talked about offer. In the third part of this 3-part series of Get Booked on More podcasts, we're going to talk about volume. How much volume does it really take to get booked on 2 podcasts a week? I can't wait to see you there.